débat va se tenir partout sur le territoire. L'objectif, c'est surtout de vous entendre.
If the national debate doesn't work, I think it would be the end of the mandate of Emmanuel Macron.
C'est pas un débat qu'on fait. Un débat, il va servir à quoi? À perdre du temps.
C'est important de donner son avis, ça nous concerne tous.
Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of France in Focus. Now, ever since mid-November, the Gilets jaunes, or yellow vest protesters, have rarely been out of the headlines. When they got started, their initial complaint was about a planned hike in fuel taxes. Well, the government has since scrapped that plan. And the Gilets jaunes has morphed into a broader protest movement against the leadership of President Emmanuel Macron, taxes and the high cost of living. Well, President Macron has now kicked off 2 months of grand national debates, allowing people to vent their opinions and put forward proposals in a town hall context like this one on the outskirts of Paris. Well, they're just about to get started here, but we're going to begin by taking a closer look at how this whole consultation process works.
The national debate, here's how it works. The government is counting on involvement from mayors, locally elected representatives, to organise local meetings. But anyone in France can also ask to organise and chair a debate. To that effect, a kit has been put together to assist would-be administrators. It contains information and rules on correct debate conduct. To find out the location and date of a debate, citizens have to visit the platform granddebat.fr, where they'll find information about every locally organised meeting. Among those taking part are a great number of retirees and workers over the age of 50. To keep things efficient, 4 debate themes have been established: taxes, environmental policies, public services and democratic debate. In theory, no question is off limits, but the government has drawn some lines. There'll be no U-turn on any reforms already underway, including the partial scrapping of France's wealth tax, a measure the Yellow Vests are staunchly against. At the end of 2 months of debate on March 15, the most interesting input will be published and passed on to the government. Emmanuel Macron has vowed to come up with concrete measures by the end of April.
So we're at a elementary school in the Paris suburb of Vincennes, and this building is serving as the backdrop for one such debate. People all around me taking part in roundtable discussions, putting forward their ideas, and they're then going to vote on them.
We have very different opinions, so it can go in all directions, but it's also interesting. It tracks the current concerns.
The crowd is mostly enthusiastic retirees, a few young people, and those who become disillusioned with President Macron.
I'm a yellow vest. I've protested 8 times in Paris. I also decided it was important to go and see what was happening with this national debate. I think it's an important moment for all of us together in our country's democracy.
This is the debate's organiser, Republic on the Move MP Guillaume Gouffier-Char. For the moment, he's just there to listen.
Les dépenses sociales représentent donc 575 € sur 1 000 € d'impôts.
All this is democracy. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's the sort of participatory democracy that our country so badly needs. I trust the expertise of our citizens, and I know this debate will allow us to make decisions on topics that we haven't addressed in decades.
Renforcement de la lutte contre la fraude en général.
The evening ends in good spirits with dozens of proposals voted on by the participants, all of which will be sent to the government.
Well, I really hope something will come out of this, that's all.
I wouldn't dare to say it so openly, but it seems like the government's pulling the wool over our eyes.
A government that, more than ever, is eager to turn the page. Well, polls suggest that the French public likes this idea of dialogue, and the president's approval rating has edged up since the initiative was announced. But not everyone's convinced. Some of the Yellow Vests view the debates as a distraction and an attempt to undermine their movement, whilst others are completely disinterested and view the whole debating process as a waste of time.
This is Trappes, a city of 35,000 inhabitants in the Paris suburbs. Here, the unemployment rate is almost 20%. And many believe this issue is not getting enough attention in the national debate. At this outdoor market, the general consensus, it's a waste of time.
What's the debate going to do? They debate between themselves. They don't need us, the ones who are suffering.
According to the latest poll, 32% of French people believe that the national debate is a bad thing. In Chanteloup-la-Vigne, another impoverished suburb of Paris, many residents share this opinion. Here, 37% of the people live below the poverty line. Even the mayor admits holding a debate is useless.
I just walked around town asking questions, the same questions, and no one's really interested in the national debate. When I inquire more, I'm told, what's the point?
Baran Al-Fakar, who runs a neighborhood association, is used to this question. Every day he talks with young people. In this city, 40% of people under 25 are unemployed. They aren't interested in taking part in the debate.
We believe that it's more a feeling of resignation, even those of us in the front lines. We need to fight this and say we still believe in collective action.
Some, like these yellow vests in Alsace, have decided to organize their own debate. They've been crisscrossing the region for several days to pass out a questionnaire to the residents. 5 major themes are addressed, including taxation and representation. Respondents can also make requests.
You know that we spent many weeks on the roundabouts, and we heard a lot of demands, so we had to formalize them, gather them together.
These yellow vests will then send that information on to the Élysée before the big national debate ends.
To find out more about the Yellow Vests and the national debates, we've come to Sciences Po University to speak to political scientist and researcher Bruno Cotres. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us, Professor Cotres. There's a huge sense of pressure on President Macron to make sure that these debates do work, because if they don't, it's very difficult to see how things are going to unfold after that. What do you see happening when the 2 months are over?
If the national debate doesn't work, I think it would be the end of the mandate of Emmanuel Macron. The national debate is a democratic therapy also. We need to recover from a major crisis of France. So Emmanuel Macron needs to show to the French that not only he's hearing the French, but also that he has learned through the crisis to govern differently.
And just to be clear, Professor Cotres, not all of the anger can possibly be directed at the Macron presidency, because it hasn't even lasted 2 years yet, has it? So where does this anger come from?
It probably started in the end of the 80s, the beginnings of the 90s, when France is facing actually integration to the world economy. And we can see the first signs that it's not going to be easy. It is exactly at that period that the Front National, the far-right party, start to get the first successes and start to say to the French, they are lying to you. They are lying to you with the European integration that would be good for you. So it started obviously long before Emmanuel Macron, but we have a second aspect. The second aspect is that there is a little responsibility, I would say, of Emmanuel Macron, because Emmanuel Macron, since he has been elected, has many times provoked the French, and particularly that part of France which feel that that is too far away from the ordinary citizens and the ordinary French. There is also the way that Emmanuel Macron probably has misjudged who are the French, and particularly the popular classes, those people that have very few economic, cultural, social resources to do what Emmanuel Macron wants for the French to be more mobile, more in line with the world economy.
And just looking at the participation of the presidents in this debate and other debates, even in the run-up to the presidency, he's a good debater, isn't he, President Macron? He enjoys it and he holds his own. But isn't there a feeling perhaps here in France that, you know, telling someone to talk about their problems and let off steam is going to make them feel better, and therefore it's going to be perceived as being a little bit patronizing, perhaps?
Yes, that's clearly the danger for Emmanuel Macron, to be perceived as someone who likes too much to talk, which is excellent, super good debater, excellent in giving an expose, but at the same time to be too much on that, to talk too much. It would be much better to say, I did it, I initiated the debate, but then I'm going to be just in the backstage and I'm just going to keep aside from the debate. It's a little bit risky for Emmanuel Macron that could eventually come again on this negative image that he has already, which is too much arrogant, too much self-confident, that he likes too much to talk, and that he should just get back to the office, work, to deliver.
And there's a danger, isn't there, that we are somewhat divided in that we're in the middle of Paris and there are people in other parts of the country who must have very different concerns to those of people here in the heart of the French capital.
France is like any other European country, which is that we have extremely big divides. We are a divided society, and it is precisely the origins of the crisis. Part of the France looks to Emmanuel Macron as someone who is competent, dynamic, having courage, I would say, to be very brave, okay, but at the same time, look to Emmanuel Macron as a very strange object that doesn't talk to part of the France. Emmanuel Macron knows that because when he has been elected, he did the diagnostic that he wanted to be the French president which is going to reunify the French, but actually the policies that he did since the beginning did not do that.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. Bruno Cotres, Professor of Political Science here at Sciences Po in Paris. Thank you so much. Well, that's all we have time for this week's edition of France in Focus. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon here on France 24.